Hi, good day. For today's video, we are going to tackle about the behavioral system model by Dorothy E. Johnson. For the overview of this theory, we are going to tackle regarding for the introduction of this theory, the concept, the subconcept, the theoretical assertions, and the model. And to proceed this topic, for the early life of Dorothy Johnson, she was born on August 21, 1999 in Georgia, USA. Dorothy Johnson is the youngest of the 7 children. Her father is a superintendent of a shrimp and oyster factory. Her mother is very involved and enjoys reading. Finished her associate's degree at Armstrong Juniors College in Savannah, Georgia. Due to the Great Depression, she taught for a year from the school to be a governess or a teacher for 3 children in Miami, Florida. Then Dorothy Johnson was realized her love for children, nursing, and education. Dorothy Johnson studies in Associates in Art degree Armstrong Junior College in 1938, and she studied in Bachelor of Science in Nursing in Vanderbilt University in 1942. She got a master's degree in public health from Harvard University, Boston in 1948 and worked at various places in the U.S. in 1955 at CMC Villor Sun. She creation of her theory began in 1940s when she began to teach. Dorothy Johnson get work being a staff nurse at Chatham in Savannah Health Council. She have an experience regarding for the assistant, associate, and professor of pediatric nurse in University of California, Los Angeles in 1949, and Dorothy Johnson's retirement in 1979. Dorothy Johnson got an award being a faculty award from graduate students in 1975. In 1977, Lulu Hasselblad Distinguished Achievements Award. In 1981, she got an Excellence in Nursing Award from Vanderbilt University. For the final days, Dorothy Johnson retired from UCLA in 1978 as a professor emeritus. And she went to Key Largo FL to study scales. To continue with research and development of her theory, Dorothy Johnson passed away in 1999 at the age of 80. And now to proceed this topic, we are going to tackle about the different concept of the behavioral system model. For the first concept, we are going to tackle about the behavior. For Dorothy Johnson's, behavior is an output of intra-organismic structures and processes as they are coordinated and articulated by responsive to changes and sensory stimulation. So, as per Dorothy Johnson's, the behavior is an output and a sensory stimulation. To proceed, the next concept is a system. As for Dorothy Johnson's, system is a function as a whole by virtue of organized and independent interaction of its parts. Okay, I will give some example for this one. I'm going to tackle regarding for the biological system. For example, is the body. For the body, example for that one is the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system. And we already know that the cardiovascular system is a functioning to pump the blood to all parts of the body. And in the cardiovascular system needs the parts of the heart, the myocardium, endocardium, the blood vessels, the aorta, and many more. So the cardiovascular system is, all the parts are working together. That is how cardiovascular system is able to pump blood from the heart. That is, for Dorothy Johnson, that is what we call, she is referring the system as a function as a whole, virtue of organized, independent interactions. So the next concept is a behavioral system. For Dorothy Johnson, a behavioral system is a system that indicates the states of the system through the behaviors. It is a pattern, repetitive, and purposeful ways of behaving. It is an organized and integrated function unit that determines and limits the interactions between the person and his environment and establishes the relationships of the person to the objects and situation in his environment. It is an orderly, purposeful, and predictable. So, as Dorothy Johnson's behavioral system is how the way you act, how the way you behave with others, that what we call, it will become a behavior. So, the next is, let's go for the next concept, which is the subsystem. As for Dorothy Johnson, subsystem is a mini system with its own particular goal and function that can be maintained as long as its relationship to other system or the environment is not disturbed. For the subsystem, we have 8 subsystem, parts of subsystem, but Dorothy Johnson's confirmed only 7 subsystem. For the next reporter, she is the one who will tackle about the different types of subsystem. Okay, to continue regarding for the subsystem, it is for Dorothy Johnson's, it is a motivational drives, direct the activities of this subsystem which are continuously changing through maturation, experience, and learning. It is controlled by biological, psychological, and sociological factors. Equilibrium. It is a stabilized but more or less transitory resting state in which the individual is in harmony with himself and with his environment. It is not synonymous with a state of health because it may be found either in health or illness. And to proceed this topic, let my team to proceed this theory.
So, behavioral system has equilibrium, stressor, tension, and instability. So, stressor is an internal or external stimuli that produce tension and result in a degree of instability. Can be positive or negative, can be endogenous or exogenous in origin. Stress will cause instability. Tension, a state of being stretched or strained and product of a disturbance in equilibrium. For example, as we all grow, we all have crossed the period of adolescence. Next, maybe the aging process. Now, as you are aging, you have to cope up with that particular growth. You have to adapt to that particular growth. So, if we're not able to adapt that properly, we end up in a state of tension. It is how the system is getting adjusted. So all these things that is called a tension. And if this tension is not handled properly, it is going to end up with instability. So tension is a state where you feel strange, a state where you feel completely shattered. You call that status tension, a state of being stretched or strained. So the next is instability, state in which the system output of energy depletes the energy to maintain stability. So the instability has 2 energies. One energy is helping me to be stable. The other energy is taking up all my energy. It is depleting the energy. For example, I cannot cry anymore. I cannot adjust anymore because the sickness is so great. I am not able to cope up. So that stage where your energy is getting adjusted or depleted, which help you to maintain stability, is getting depleted. You call that condition as instability. So the next is the subconcept. Subconcepts has 3. So the first is structure, variable, and boundary. So structure, the parts of the system that make up the whole. So structure, according to Johnson's theory, number 1 is structure. For example, gastrointestinal system, stomach, sigmoid, colon. In each subsystem, she believed that there is a structure. Variable, lacking power to control that particular thing, is called as a variable. Variable is nothing but stressor. So the next is boundary. She believed that in a behavioral system, we all have a boundary, a point that differentiates the interior of the system from the exterior. There is a boundary in our behavior. So example, when we behave with some certain people, when we have a boundary with certain people. So the next will be the 7 subsystems we'll report with my teammates.
So, subsystem. Subsystem is a mini-system with its own particular goal and functions that can be maintained as long as its relationship to the other subsystem is not disturbed. So, according to Dorothy Johnson's behavioral system theory, there are 7 subsystems, which is affiliative, dependency, ingestive, eliminative, sexual, aggressive, and restorative. So, attachment or affiliative subsystems forms the basis for social organizations. It provides survival and security, and consequences are social inclusion, intimacy, formation, and maintenance of a strong social bond. So the second is dependency subsystem. So dependency subsystems promotes helping behaviors that cause of nurturing response. Consequences are approval, attention recognition, and physical assistance. Evolves from total dependence to self-dependence. Interdependence essential for survival of social groups. So third is ingestive subsystem. So the emphasis is on the meaning and structure of the social events surrounding the occasions when the food is eaten, when, how, what, how much, and what condition we eat. So, associated with social, psychological, and biological considerations. So, the third is eliminative subsystem. So, human culture defines different socially acceptable behavior for excretion or waste. But the existence of such pattern remains different from culture to culture. When, how, and what, and under what condition we eliminate. Social and physiological factors influence this subsystem. So, sexual subsystem, both biological and social affect the behavior in the sexual subsystem. Dual functions of procreations and gratification, development of gender role identity. So, aggressive subsystem is for protection and preservation, one that generates defensive response from the individual when life or territory being threatened. So, society demands that limits be placed on moods of self-protection and the people and their property to be respected and protected. So, achievement subsystem is to control or mastery of an aspect of self or environment to some standard of excellence. So, areas of achievement behavior are intellectual, physical, creative, mechanical, and social skills. So, the restorative subsystem is suggested by faculty and clinicians to include behavior such as sleep, play, and relaxing. Johnson's believe sleep is a biological force and not a motivational behavior.
Subsystems include structural components that consist of 4 elements, which is the first one is a drive or goal, the second is a set, third is a choice, and lastly, the last one is an action or behavior. So let's start with drive or goal. Drive or goal reflects the motivations or reasons for the behavior of the subsystem. Second is a set. A set comprises the ordinary or normal behavior that the patient prefers to use to meet the goal of a subsystem. And a set is a preservatory set and prescribed set. Third one is a choice. The options that are available to the patient to meet his or her subsystem goal. It is affected by various such as a gender, age, culture, socioeconomic status, and health status. So, lastly, the last one, which is the action or behavior. Action or behavior, this emanates as a consequence of the previous 3 structural components. They're only structural component that can be directly observed. Each subsystem also has 3 functional requirements, which is the first one that it must be protected from noxious influences that the system cannot cope with. And second is each subsystem must be nurtured with appropriate supplies from the environment. And lastly, each subsystem must be stimulated for use in order to enhance growth and protect from stagnation. So these behaviors are orderly, purposely, and predictable, and sufficiently stable and recurrent to be amenable to description and explanation.
Moving on to the next topic. The next topic was the 4 meta paradigms. So, what is meta paradigms? Meta paradigm is defined as a set of concepts and propositions that sets forth the phenomena with which a discipline is concerned. A meta-paradigm is the most general statement of a discipline and functions as a framework in which the more restricted structures of conceptual models develop. First, here is the person or human being. Person is viewed as an open system with organized, interrelated, and interdependent subsystem, the whole of the human organism or greater than the sum of its parts, subsystem. Johnson viewed the person as a behavioral system with patterned, repetitive, and purposeful ways of behaving that linked the person with the environment. The concept of the person is basically a motivational one. She also acknowledged the prior experience, learning, and physical and social stimuli also influence behavior. Next is the environment. Consists of all elements that are not part of the individual's behavioral system, but influence the system and can serve as a source of sustainable imperatives. In Johnson's theory, the environment consists of all the factors that are not part of the individual's behavior system, but that influence the system. The nurse may manipulate some aspects of the environment, so the goal of health or behavioral system balance can be achieved for the patient. The behavioral system determines and limits the interaction between the person and their environment and establishes the relationship of the person to the objects, events, and situations in the environment. It is maintained because it has been functionally efficient and effective most of the time in managing the person's relationship to the environment. The third one is health. Johnson's define it as a efficient and effective functioning of system. Health is a behavioral system balance and stability. Johnson's concepts related to health will be function, functional requirements of subsystems. The fourth meta-paradigm is nursing. Nursing is seen as external regulatory force which acts to preserve the organization and integration of the patient's behavior to an optimal level under those conditions in which the behavior constitutes a threat to physical or social health, or in which illness is found. Nursing view patients as a behavioral system, and medicine views patients as a biological system. So that was the 4 meta paradigms, and moving on to the strength. Frame or references of nurses concerned with a specific client or behaviors. Strengths can be generalized across the lifespan and across cultures. The theories serve as a tool or guide to motivate patient or the behavior of a man during distress. Next is the limitations. The model is very individual-oriented. Nurses working with the group have difficulty in its implementation. Limitations: very individual-oriented. Family of the client is only considered as an environment. Limitations does not define the expected outcomes when one of the system is affected. Analysis: the concepts in Johnson's theory are interrelated. Johnson's theory is logical in nature and the theory is simple. Research studies are conducted applying Johnson's theory, categorizing different behaviors in 7 subsystems, divide the focus of nursing interventions. The part of the analysis also is the quality care given by the nurse may be lessened because of the fractionalized care, which does not support seeing the individual as a whole adaptive system.
Before we end this topic, let's tackle about regarding for the comparison contrast for Newman, Johnson's, and Roy. For Newman, human being is a client or a client system. For Johnson's, human being is a behavioral system, while Roy, human being is adaptive system. For Newman, environment is all internal, external, and created factors. For Johnson's, environment is an internal and external environment. For Roy, environment is an internal and external stimuli. For Newman, health is a wellness. All parts of client are in harmony or balance. For Johnson's, it is a purposeful balance and stability. For Roy, it is a state of adaptation, process of promoting integrity. Based on Newman, nursing is a concern with all stressors, even potential. For Johnson's, nursing is an external and regulatory force. And for Roy, nursing is a support and promote PT adaptation. Comparison contrast for Newman, Johnson's, and Roy. Base for Johnson's, client is a behavioral system with 7 behavioral subsystems, and each subsystem have 4 structural components and a function, and client is an individual. For Roy, client is an adaptive system with 2 adaptive subsystems and 4 adaptive models. For Newman, it is physiological, psychological, sociological, developmental, and spiritual variables. Client is represented as the central structures, line of defense, and resistance.